The scene opens on a long, foreboding corridor, where the villain of the hour, Yuuka, stands over her fallen victim, Akane Nishino. Yuuka savored the moment, a syringe held aloft like a trophy. Her grand objective was finally within reach, the culmination of all her suffering. She gazed down at the unconscious girl, her mind swirling with vengeful thoughts. Everything, past and future, was about to be resolved. And it was all Akane's fault. A crazed, triumphant grin spread across Yuuka's face as she prepared to deliver the final blow. A sudden sound, the light tap of footsteps, echoed in the hallway, freezing her in place. Startled, she spun around, demanding to know who dared interrupt her monologue. Her eyes widened in utter disbelief. It was impossible. How could he be here? Standing before her, looking as plain and unassuming as ever, was Minoru Kagenou. Yuuka could only stammer out his name, demanding to know why he was present. Minoru, with the casual confidence of someone who knows all the answers, correctly guessed her true question. Why was he still alive? He could read it on her face, naturally. He then launched into a masterful, albeit completely improvised, deduction. He'd put his considerable intellect to the task and concluded that since he was being hunted for no reason, the only person who knew about the previous incident, the culprit herself, must be trying to silence him. With a dramatic point, he declared his investigation complete, naming Yuuka-sensei as the murderer. He was, of course, completely right. After a moment of stunned silence, Yuuka simply let out a small, defeated sound. She quickly recovered, however, dropping the syringe and revealing a much more persuasive tool, a handgun. The situation had escalated. Minoru remained silent, his expression unreadable. Yuuka noted his lack of fear, a fact she found mildly irritating. She commended his bravery for walking into her trap, mockingly wondering if he was simply frozen in terror. Abandoning all pretense, she confessed to everything. Killing Saejima had been trivial. After all, even powerful knights are just normal people when you catch them off guard. She revealed that she and her late partner were spies, moles sent to steal information from this very facility. Minoru, playing his part as the inquisitive detective, asked the obvious question: why kill an accomplice? Yuuka explained that Saejima had served his purpose, and her true target was the girl on the floor. She posed a rhetorical question, asking if Minoru was aware of Akane Nishino's dark and terrible secret. This girl, Yuuka claimed, was a monster who had killed countless people. A very, very bad girl indeed. And Yuuka was here for one reason and one reason only: revenge. At Minoru's feigned shock, Yuuka launched into her tragic backstory, speaking of a research site called Arcadia, where she once lived happily with her husband. It was a simple life, but a happy one. A flashback showed her husband bursting with excitement, announcing a major breakthrough in their research.
Yuuka had playfully chided him for shouting, but he was too ecstatic. Their work with a man named Nishino Akira on awakened beings had finally succeeded. He excitedly led her to meet the fruit of their labor, Japan's very first knight. They called her the Genesis Knight. A young, black-haired Akane introduced herself with a sweet and innocent smile. Yuuka narrated how Akane's power brought hope and prosperity to their ruined country. But for one man, Nishino Akira, it wasn't enough. He pushed for more, ignoring the dangers.
Yuuka's husband had argued vehemently, warning that they had no proof Akane could control more power. But Akara was insistent. Akara coolly manipulated the situation, claiming they had to respect Akane's own wishes to proceed with the dangerous experiments. The immense power changed Akane, turning her hair a brilliant, unearthly gold. And then the inevitable happened. The facility was destroyed, and Yuuka's husband's worst fears came true. In a scene of utter devastation, Yuuka wept over her dying husband, her sorrow turning to rage. She swore an oath of vengeance against Nishino Akira and the Genesis Knight, vowing to hunt them down and end them. Back in the present, Yuuka explained that her long search had finally led her here. She'd found Akane continuing his research as if nothing had happened, and Akane, the monster responsible, had conveniently forgotten the entire tragedy. Minoru processed this information with a thoughtful expression. So Akane was the legendary Genesis Knight. Interesting. Yuuka continued her villainous exposition, explaining that the Genesis Knight was created by injecting Akane with the blood of demon beasts. With a deranged grin, she posed a question. Wasn't Minoru just a little curious what would happen if she injected even more? She loomed over Akane, syringe ready, promising to make her remember everything she had done. She would remind Akane that deep down she was nothing but a repulsive, hideous monster. With a final vicious stab, the deed was done. Akane's eyes shot open, and she instinctively bit down hard on Yuuka's arm. Yuuka laughed maniacally. This raw, violent reaction was Akane's true self. This, she declared, was her revenge. Akane began to scream, her body convulsing as the beast blood took hold. Minoru, playing the part of the concerned classmate, cried out her name. Akane, in a moment of lucidity, screamed for him to stay away, trying to protect him from herself. A massive wave of uncontrolled power erupted from her body, blowing Minoru back. The entire top of the building was obliterated in a catastrophic explosion. Akane's mind was flooded with the traumatic memories of the Arcadia disaster. The screams, the pleas, the bodies hitting the ground, it was all vivid. She remembered the faces of her victims, the people she had slaughtered in her rampage. The horrifying truth crashed down on her. The disaster wasn't caused by some monster. It was all her. Everything was done by her own hands. All she had ever wanted was to help people, to be like the hero who had once saved her. But it was all just her own foolish arrogance. Standing alone in the crater she had created, under the light of a full moon, Akane looked up. A figure had appeared, startling her. It was a man in a black coat, sitting casually on a piece of rubble, radiating an aura of immense power. The man, Shadow, observed that it was a fine night, a perfect night for severing one's past. A line so cool it simply had to be pre-planned. With two simple words, "Let's go," he signaled the beginning of the main event. Akane, lost in her despair and power, warned him to stay away. She declared that no one could stop her now, and unleashed another torrent of destructive energy. She screamed, a primal roar of pain and power. Shadow matched her scream with one of his own for dramatic effect. He met her charge head-on, his blade a blur as he seemingly cut her down. Akane stared in horror, believing she had killed yet another person. But the figure she struck dissolved. "That was my after-image," Shadow's voice echoed from behind her. Before she could react, he had her bound in chains of pure black magic. She struggled futilely against the unbreakable restraints. Her screams echoed across the ruins. Shadow stated the obvious with immense gravity. It was no use. No one could escape the restraints of the black shackles. He raised his blade, the moonlight glinting off its edge. With his power, he stabilized her rampaging energy, then offered a piece of sage advice. From now on, she should really try to stop getting kidnapped so much. Akane could only stare, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek, her ordeal finally over. The city skyline was peaceful once more, save for the newly remodeled skyscraper. From a nearby rooftop, Shadow's #1 fan, Beta, was documenting the glorious event with a digital camera. This digicam was a marvelous invention, clearly created for the sole purpose of recording the chronicles of Shadow-sama. Shadow summoned her, and she appeared by his side in an instant. She proudly reported that while he was busy being magnificent, she had analyzed the Black Rose and discovered the key to reopening the gate home, the magic contained in the monster's head. To demonstrate, she immediately chucked the head at a nearby wall with a cheerful "Up and away!" Shadow could only watch, deadpan, as the crucial plot device went splat. Against all odds, a swirling black portal opened. Shadow, ever the brilliant leader, acted as if this was all part of the plan, congratulating Beta on a job well done. Beta was overjoyed by his praise, gushing about how superior he was to that other fallen angel of rebellion guy. Shadow, having had enough fun, declared it was time to go home. As he stepped toward the portal, Beta cried for him to wait, scrambling to retrieve her large sack of souvenirs. She tried to stuff the comically large bag through the portal. It didn't fit. All her hard work looting this world, and she couldn't even bring back her stolen goods. The injustice was unbearable. Dejectedly, she sat amongst her scattered treasures, wondering what to take. Her eyes then fell upon the still unconscious form of Akane Nishino. A truly brilliant and not at all concerning idea began to form in her mind.
After all, when traveling between worlds, what better souvenir could one ask for than a live, local specimen?